Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, and we are very, very, very fortunate to be joined by former Indiana coach Tom Crean, as well as Georgia and Marquette. Now, you've been doing the TV gig with ESPN. I think you did that once before, right?
Mm-hmm. I did.
But so, what is it like sitting in the analyst chair watching these games? Or what are you able to see things differently, learn more, put things, and just say, oh, wow, and just see it from a different perspective than you would if you were on the court?
I think so. I think it's the preparation going into it. And really, when I prepare, it's like I'm preparing. I really do it the same I did as a coach. Like I redo my notes on the day of the game, if it's a later game or if it's a early game, do it the night before, do different things, to prepare for the studio. But I'm looking at, okay, how would I stop the team if I was coaching against them? What are the strengths of the team? Where are guys getting better or not getting better? And then I really try to work, which is different. Like, okay, let's really highlight the excitement of this, or highlight the improvement of this guy, or highlight the great plays. When you're coaching, you don't always lock in as much to the greatness. You're kind of so many times looking for what you've got to do next or preparing for what could go wrong. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. So it's really been good for me. And it's almost like, I'm not trying to carry water for any coach. I'm not trying to carry water for any player. I'm trying to really look at it and say, this is what I see from my experience. This is what I see from my preparation. And this is what I see that's happening in the game. Why is this team winning? And what do they have to do to keep doing that? Why is this team losing? And what do they have to do to overcome that? And I enjoy that, and so it's good for me. I'm not looking for a lot of other people's opinions on what they think about this team or that team, and not talking to the coach about, what they want me to say about their team. That's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it to give what I see. And at the same time, I'm really hoping that if I was on the other side of the screen and I was listening to me talk about the game, that I'd be learning something, because that's really the only time that I'm interested in the game. If I'm not going to learn anything from the announcer, or if it becomes too much about jokes and funny stories, now turn the volume down and just pay attention to the game. And I wouldn't want anybody to do that with me. So I hope that I'm doing a good enough job that people are learning something.
Well, and I think that's what the fans want to hear, though. And
sure, exactly. No question they do. And I think what happens in television too many times is people, they don't really understand how much people want to learn, especially in this information society, and how quick hit information is, and how we get our information now, how we get our news, how we get our knowledge. And so I've had to try to learn to be concise. I've had to try to learn to make a couple quick points inside of a few seconds, which I think is helpful. But again, I'm not interested. If I can't learn something from what I'm watching, then I'm really going to probably go to something else. And I try to have that same view when I'm doing television, or even I did radio this year for Westwood One. I did 2 games, and it was a completely different view of basketball, because now you're the point guard, the playmaker, the captain of the team. That's the play-by-play man, right? And you got to make a point quickly here and there, but you've got to give that person their time to be able to call that game. And so learning to be descriptive, like that was really helpful for me. I did the Division II championship a little over a week ago in Evansville. I loved it. I loved the basketball. I loved the preparation. The excitement of the game was awesome. But I was also hopefully able to make some points that people could register when they were listening to it on the radio.
Damn, I wish I'd have known that. Daggone. I saw that game was going on. I'm like, daggone, it's in Evansville. I did not realize that.
But yeah, if you get a chance, I would recommend people, especially the way people love basketball, because it's not attended nearly enough. For the level of basketball, yeah, I wish I'd have gone in on a Tuesday for the quarterfinals. I didn't get in there till Friday for the practices and Saturday for the championship. But they play the quarterfinals at the Ford Center on Tuesday, so you got 8 teams in there. Then they play the semis on Thursday. It is tremendous basketball. I mean, just absolutely tremendous. The level of play, it's really in so many ways, like if anybody you could watch European style basketball, right? And the passing, the movement, the freedom of movement, the pressing. You could watch that in Evansville, Indiana, with half of the teams. It's just what it's like. I mean, the basketball's so pure, it's awesome.
That's and we are very familiar with Division II basketball in this area. Southern Indiana, until they moved up, was a great program. Bellarmine in Louisville with Scott Davenport was a great one until they moved up. Northern Kentucky, and it shows you though, all three of those, or at least those programs, they had success almost immediately at the Division I level, which is nuts, crazy.
Well, the basketball, the coaching is so good. Like what we had on the Tuesday or that Saturday was a coach, Jim Crutchfield, who had Nova Southeastern undefeated, and he'd been there, I believe, 4 years. And the school he left was West Liberty, which was who he was playing in the championship against his former assistant and former player. And they were going into the game 33-3, and both teams were averaging 100 points a game. And their defense was excellent in the way of intensity. They both pressed. Basically, it was full court, all out pressing for 39 minutes of that game till really the last minute is when the game was decided. And it's incredible to see those kids and those young people work that hard, play that hard, be that unselfish. It was excellent. So there's so much good basketball in the world. And obviously Indiana is at the forefront of so much of it. And when you get a chance to have teams like that come in, why do they put the Final Four there every year? Not only because or so many years, I should say, not only because it's convenient, but because people have such a passion for basketball, and it's awesome.
Yep. And speaking of Indiana, they had 7 new faces that they were going to fill on their roster. They're down. They've got 2 freshmen coming in, Gabe Cupps and Ja'Kai Newton. They have signed Peyton Sparks, who left Ball State, and kind of cannibalizing their own there with Michael Lewis being at Ball State now. But they still have 3 more holes to fill. And so their needs, from what I saw in that game against Miami in the NCAA tournament, my gosh, Miami just was so much quicker and more athletic. And all of us saw that, man, Indiana has to really get more athletic, get faster. They have to get shooters. They need to make some changes in their offense, and that's nothing that's a secret. That's been said by the coaches and everyone else. But how difficult is it to know that you have to form a team that's going to win next year with what you have?
Well, I think, Mike's been at it a long time. Obviously, Mike's wanted the Indiana job for a long time. He's got it. They're doing a really good job with it. I think it comes down to, what does Mike see as the best way to win in that league? And obviously they had players that they played a certain way. Jalen Hood-Schifino, I mean, if he doesn't end up in the lottery, I'll be shocked. I mean, there's 2 guys that I think aren't getting nearly enough attention for how good they're going to be in the NBA. And I know Hood-Schifino is showing up in some of those mocks in the lottery, but I don't think there's any question. And then the other guy's Noah Clowney, who's a 6'10", 6'11" freshman at Alabama. Those guys, when it's all said and done, and they see the NBA see those teams work out, or see those guys work out individually, not only in the combines and things of that nature, they'll be in that lottery. But that'll be a big hole to fill, as will Trace Jackson Davis be a big hole. They had a good, solid, older team that could complement one another in a lot of ways. So it really comes down to how Mike wants to play. And I'm not sure what that is, moving forward when you don't necessarily have, Race Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis in there. But that's why, the most important thing any coaching staff can do is to recruit to the vision and to the personality and into the vision that head coach has. And I would think with Indiana's ability to have, name, image, and likeness money, with the support that's in that program, they should be able to recruit a lot of people that it'll be more of maybe a selection process for Indiana than anything else. And it really comes down to what's most important to Mike and how he sees the future of his offense and his defense.
Yeah, this was the first year that he said that he's ever run an offense through the center. It was kind of hard to not do that, of course, with Trey Jackson Davis. And a lot has been said about the Big Ten overall and the style of offense that they've played and not having a lot of success in the tournament. Is that fair, or is that coincidence, or is it just is there truth to that?
I don't know. I really don't know. We played a different style. Michigan played a different style when I was in the league. Michigan's pace wasn't as fast as ours, but there was a lot of movement in their offense. You know, their offense at Michigan was a little bit more systematic spacing, you know, where our offense was more cerebral spacing. There was more playing off the ball, a lot of cutting, things of that nature. Bottom line is this: Michigan had success. We had success. Michigan State's always had success doing it with a certain way, with a lot of set plays, you know, low turnovers, high rebounds. You don't win championships if you can't guard, right? You're not in the upper echelon of the league if you can't guard, right? And so, like, how do you guard? Do you guard half court man to man? Do you guard zone? Do you guard full court pressure? I think when you have outlier teams, like Penn State was really an outlier this year in the way that they had tremendous spacing. They had numerous shooters on the floor, and they had a guy in Pickett that could score from three, score in the post, play out of the post. But they had guys that had deep range on their team. When you're a little bit different, you can stand out in the league. You know, Purdue was obviously a lot different because of Zach Edey and what he could do. Indiana was tough because they had a guy in Trace Jackson Davis that, you know, so many people didn't know how to defend. Most people didn't know how to defend Zach Edey. And then you have a lot of other teams. Michigan State caught fire late. There's so many different ways to play. But what happens in the Big Ten a lot of times is people are very, very set in how they're going to play. And they're very sound in how they want to play, but that's how they play. So when somebody comes in that's a little bit different, utilizes spacing, shooting a little bit different, has something different defensively, like Kevin Willard did at Maryland, you're going to see a lot of parity in the league. And so I don't think it's fair to have any criticism of the Big Ten, because I think this year, more than ever, there was more parity based on style of play than what there had been. And maybe when I was in the league, there wasn't as much parity on style of play. Like I said, we were different. Michigan was different. But when you've got teams that force you to change constantly, I think that's good for the league. And I think that's why you see, you know, you saw so many teams that were right there, right around each other, standings wise, you know, even going up into the last 2 weeks of the season.
I talked earlier about, you know, the TV work that you're doing and coaching. Obviously, a lot less stress in television than in coaching.
Oh, yeah, there is.
But and it's a lot, and I'm not going to say a lot less work, because I know that there's work to do, because I used to be a TV sports anchor. But with a coach, it doesn't stop. There's just no stopping point. It seems it's just always going. You're always on. Is it good to get off of that wheel for a while, just to refresh the mind and the body?
No, not really. No, I don't look at it like that, because I wasn't, I mean, it was basketball for me, and it was family, and it was what it would take to make the program better. I didn't have a lot of outside things that would take me away from what was most important. And so not really. I think it's all of what you get energy from. I really do. Like, if I didn't enjoy basketball, I wouldn't get energy from it. If I didn't enjoy being on the floor for individual workouts and practices, I got energy from that. You know, I think I brought energy. Well, I got energy from it. And it's the same. I love to watch my family do things. I love to be a part of things for them. If golf and tennis brought me a lot of excitement and energy, I'd do that. But it just doesn't. So I think it's really, you know, what your priorities are, what you really enjoy. And I can be happy in different situations based on finding things. If I'm learning and if I'm around that, then I feel good, right? If I'm around people that I care about the most, then I feel good. But as far as coaching, I was ready to coach again the next week after it ended at Georgia, right? Same thing. It was probably 2 weeks after Indiana. probably 2 weeks, maybe 2.5. I was ready to go. And I wasn't ready that first weekend. I had an opportunity to get into a job that first weekend after Indiana, but I wasn't ready for that. And I knew I wasn't ready for that. But I think, again, when you love something, you can put it on pause for a minute, but you don't really turn it off. And that's kind of how I am with coaching. So I don't have any doubt that I'll coach again. I'm not looking actively for something just to coach, because I think you've got to have your priorities on what's most important. And there's got to be unbelievable alignment with your athletic director, the athletic department, and the president's office. You've got to have that. In this day and age, you've got to have NIL capabilities. And really, when I coach again, I want to be somewhere where it absolutely matters, and where it's they don't have to be winning, but it's got to be like people really want to see it win and they care. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for next. And when it comes, it comes. And in the meantime, I'll just keep learning and enjoying this and focus on how I can get better at television.